In this video, we are going to implement modal. So if you look at the final one, when we click on watch trailer, you can see that we have the modal be open and the video is playing in the modal as well. So this is what we are going to implement, and let's look at the logic first. Alright, so first, when we click on the watch trailer, it opens a modal. That's the first step. So first step, you want to add event listener on the watch trailer. So when I click on that, and then that modal open, right? And the next step is that we're going to pull the data and place it inside that modal. So first of all, we need to install or bring in a package from Material UI called modal. So let's search for Material UI like that, and then let's click on this one and go to the website, and then let's check it out. Let's search for modal like that. All right, and if you scroll down here, you can see how it's been implemented. When you click on that, you see something opens, and in between, inside the container, we can place our own content. All right, so let's look at the implementation of it. So when you click on this pencil code icon, this is all what you're doing here, but I want to make it pretty simple. So what we're going to do is that let's just copy this one, right? The modal one here. I'm going to explain to you. So let's get back to our code here, and then let's start creating the component for that. So let's close this once, and inside SRC component, and because the modal, we're going to reuse it in entire pages of our movies, trending, and TV series, let's keep it here to reuse. So let's create a folder and name this one modal like that. And then let's create a file or a component called appmodal.js like that. And then let's have some scaffold here, skeleton, by making use of RAFCE, and let's hit enter, and then let's paste what you copied inside like that. All right, so let's remove the body. This is the content, right? So here, let's bring in the modal component. So let's try and make sure if the auto import be working for us. Perfect. So let's bring React at the top, not here, but instead here. All right, cool. So all what it's doing is that this modal component takes two props. The most important ones, open and close. So for now, let's make this one true. For now, let's make it true here, and then handle close will be false for now. So let's keep track of the state. So let's have the state here and say use state. Okay, cool. Now the app modal is working perfectly. It's not working, but we have finished creating it. So next thing is that we need to know where we are going to call this component. So like I told you on the final one, when we click on this watch trailer button here, right? That's the way you're going to add event listener. To the event listener, we're going to place inside the watch movie details page, right? Because this is where all these movies are coming from. So let's head over to the movie component details page here, and then content details and content details here. So let's bring in the app modal, the one we just created. App modal auto import. Okay, it's working fine. So next thing is, where should I call it? So let's locate where we have the watch trailer, right? But I want to give a different color. It's not that visible. So let's add some inline styling here and give it a color of, say, color, and let's give it yellow color. Let's see if it's more visible. Okay, but I'm not sure it's not that good. Border. Okay, bring it back to the default one. Okay, cool. All right, so here we are going to add our event listener on that watch trailer. Cool. So this is where we have it. So you're going to wrap everything inside this. So let's cut this one and then let's bring in the app modal, and then in between let's place it like that, and let's see what we have. Everything goes away, right? So all what we need is we need to work on the modal itself. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, the reason why we have nothing here is that let's look at something. Let's look at the error it's going to give us if we can debug it. All right, you see that it says that cannot read property of props of undefined. Cool. So from React, anytime you pass some content in between the component, this one becomes a children, right? And the modal also requires us to place some let's say data inside the modal. But if you look at the modal here, we are not displaying anything in between here, right? So to be able to get access to the particular button to be clicked, for example here, this one, we need to pass as children, because we want to access this one, the whole of this link as what? Children, where we can add the event listener on. So here on the app modal, we have access to that using what is called children, because we pass that content between that. So let's place it here as what? Children, as that. And let's see, you see that it has opened, but it's ugly now. Look at that watch trailer, because there's no content in there to be what? To be placed. Cool. So now we know that it's working, but not to our expectation. So what we're going to do is that first, we have access to the children, right? So we want to add the event listener on that. So because of that, let's wrap this one in a div. Let's wrap this one in a div for starting purposes, like that. So one div here. So let's bring it at the bottom, like that, and another div. Let's wrap like that. Okay, so now this one represents the button, right? So if you try to console of this children, you see that we have access to this. So here, in between here, the children, right? This one. So this is not close one, sorry, but instead this one. So we have it here as that. Okay, cool. So in between here, we can place the children, right? And then we can now add the event listener on that. So here is going to be something like my content, the actual content to be placed in. So if you do this and then let's save it. Okay, cool. Nothing happens again. So we need to place in some modal content in there, right? So what we're going to do is that we need to add some event listeners on that. So let's come here and then create our function called handle close and handle open. So I don't want to waste my time on that, and the functionality is really pretty simple. So let me copy it here and then let me explain to you. All right, cool. So now I have my state, when to open it and when to close, right? So here now my open here is going to be what? Open from my state, like that. And then the handle close, you're going to be what? Handle close, like that. You want to put it to false. And then the last thing is my on click, right? This button. So here, so let's add on click to that, and this click going to be handle what? Open. So with this in place, let's check it out and see if you're going to get any error or no. Okay, so let's go ahead. Why is it not getting us the content that we need? Oh, sorry, I didn't save it. So let's check it out. Okay, I didn't save it. You see that I get it back, right? So anytime I click on this one, you see that the content open, but it's empty, right? As soon as I click on that, you see that it opens, but there is no content in the modal, right? So if you try to, sorry, let's place some content here and say my content, like that. So if you click on that, you see we have nothing because we want to displace the content well. Okay, cool. So let's remove that for now and let's check it out what we have as it stands. Okay, we got it. So when you click on this one, we want to open some content. So we are going to also create a component. We want to get the particular, let me show you, one of these ones, right? And then place it inside here. So because we are going to create a component, right, that will get us that video. Right now, we want to place a video in it. But we also have a different endpoint that we can hit for us to create that video. So let's go here, let's come here and then create one more component, and this time around let me call this one modal content, because we want to place the actual content in that modal content. Yeah, so for this modal content we need to place the video. So let's call this one modal content, like that. So .js. All right, cool. So let's scaffold it quickly and then like that. Okay, cool. So next thing is that we need to fetch the video that you want to watch, because here all these things are text, right? So how can we get a video, a trailer of this? You're going to make another API call to fetch a movie based on its ID, right? But before that, let's just display the video player inside that. So we are going to install a package called React YouTube. So if you come here and then let's search for React YouTube, we're going to give us that package to install to help us to play the movie, so the video in the YouTube player. If you look at the download, very popular. So all we need to do is that let's install this package. So I'm going to use yarn. So I'm going to copy this one and then come back to my terminal here, and then let me shut down my terminal like that, and then let me make use of yarn add React YouTube. Cool. So what's installing? Let's go back to documentation and see how it works. And I think it's pretty simple component. So let's copy their setup, right? We have options here. So let's require this package. This package. Let's copy that. Let's go back to our code, paste it here, and then they have some options. So let's copy these options as well, these options, and then let's place it inside our component like that. All right, and then it returns this. So let's bring in the return like that. They use functional components, sorry, class-based components. So let's return like that. Okay, cool. So let's remove these ones already. I don't want that. Okay, so now you know that our prayer gonna work. All what we need is an ID of YouTube, right? That we can play inside that. So as soon as we get this one, let's head over to the contents, the app modal, and then place the content here. So let's require the component that we just created, modal content. Sorry, it's called modal content. This one. All right, we have the auto import. So let's render it here as that. Okay, let's check it out, our project. Okay, we need to restart the server after installing the package. It's gonna be yarn start. Let's wait and see and watch for good news. Otherwise, as soon as we click on that button, we want to display that default video player from YouTube. So it's opening, it's loading now. Let's click on that, and then there we go. Did you see? This is the default YouTube it gave us from the package. So we are going to replace that one with with our own with our own video from here. So how can we fetch a movie, a trailer of a particular movie, and we have a different endpoint that we are going to hit, right? We only need the ID to get started. So I'm going to give you the the API, and the API we're going to get is called fetch movie. So I think we have done this so many times. So let me copy the function that we're going to use here, and then let me paste it. Where is it? Let's get over to the modal content here, and then above here, let's place it here called fetch movie. I'm going to explain to you. Let me bring this one here. All right, cool. Now we have the const option fetch movie. All right, something. Let's close it. Oh, but okay, let's start from scratch. Don't worry about the function. Okay, so cool. But the most important thing is we need to know the API we are going to hit, and this is the API. Let me paste it here. I'll provide it in the description. All right, all the APIs. So let me show you the API we're going to hit. So inside here, let me paste the API here, and you guess what? We have the link API movie ID and the ID of the movie that we need, and your API key. That is all, right? So how can we get the ID of the movie? We can pass the ID of the movie to the modal content, right? And then we pass to this API to make it happen. So quickly, let's create a function. So like I said, the function has been created many times. So let's copy that. Let's go ahead and copy that function. Function call here. Let me paste it here. And then let me add one more curly brace here. All right. So let me remove this API call here. All right. So as we did for fetch movies, we bring in our function and mark as an async to be able to use await, and then make use of get, and then in here we pass in our API. But let's preserve our key here by making use of the environment variable as we did in the previous video. All right, so it's called React App Movie Key. Cool. So now let's try to console log what we are getting back. So we need to get the ID of the movie, right? So let's console.log. Let's console.log the data. All right, so let's bring in use effect. Use effect and use state. All right, so here let's dispatch the action on component mount use effect. Cool. And then let's add our dependencies, and in between the function I want to fetch movie. Okay, cool. So if you get this one, we're going to get an error because there is no ID of the movie. So how can we get the ID of the movie? That brings us to another concept of what? So you need to pass the ID to the modal content. That's called prop drilling. So inside the content details here, right, we can pass the ID here to this app modal, right, and we can get that one from the we can also get the ID from here and pass to the modal content, right? So we need to get the ID of the movie. So on the content modal here, we can have access to the ID of the movie. So on the movie.id, so let's destructure, let's get the ID here. Let me call this one cons, let me call this one TV or movie ID, right? Movie ID. Let me call this one movie ID. Movie ID is equal to movie.id. So console log the ID, the movie, we got the ID on that. So let's pass the ID here. Call this one ID is equal to the movie ID. Cool. So now we have the ID inside the modal, the app modal. So when you come to the app modal, we can pass, we can destructure the ID here, right? And we can pass the ID to this modal component. You see the prop drilling, that's why Redux comes in, right? So app ID. as that. So inside the modal content here, we cannot get the ID here, right? So let's get the ID here, and there we go. So with this, let's try it out. I think Axios is not, and React, sorry, it's process. Always I forget process.env.react movies. And then let's bring in our Axios. How the auto import perfect is working. Okay, cool. So now let's check the console. If you're gonna get the movie, the video of the movie, the trailer, and let's check it out. No, unless I click on the trailer. When I click on this, let's see, there we go. You see that we have the ID here, right? So we have the ID of the movie. So here on the result, you could see that, let me pause this one. You could see that on the result, we have a key, and this is the YouTube ID. We can place it inside our modal component from YouTube package. See that I have the ID or key here. So now I'm going to get this one from the result, right, and pass it into that. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and then do that. So inside the modal content, we also want to keep track of the video ID here, modal content. So okay, let me bring it here. Okay, the arrangement of that. Okay, cool. So now let's keep track of these two. So I'm going to copy this state here, and here let me place it. Let me show you, explain to you. Here we want to keep track of the video ID and set video ID. So as soon as we fetch the video, we want to update the video ID. This is an ID from YouTube. We want to pass to the YouTube package we installed, and then we have the YouTube link, right? I'm going to show how to provide the YouTube link. Okay, so now as soon as we fetch back, we get back the result, right? Let's set the video ID. So here you're going to be set video ID. Here, and we're going to get it from, we want the ID from the YouTube key. So here on the data, as you saw in the console, you can get the one from result, and that one gives us an array, right? We want the first index and then dot key, right? We have the key on that. So now if you console log video ID, you're gonna get the video ID here. Let's check it out one more time. So let's go to the console. Let me clear this one, and then let me click on watch trailer, and let's see the core. Okay, it didn't come. We didn't get the ID. So why is this so? It's not data result and then dot key set video ID. Oh, sorry. Yeah, video ID. So let's come to outside. Sorry, outside. Yeah. So let's check it out and see. Let's refresh the application, and then let's clear the console, and then let's click on any of these. You see that we have the ID here. So the ID we need to give it to what? We give it to the package, right? So let's close that. And then let's head over to the project, right? So now on the modal content, we have the ID. So all what we need is what? We pass that one to this video ID instead of using this ID from YouTube, right? So this is called what? Let's pass in the video ID, the one we got. That is it, right? So let's check it out. So when I refresh the application and click on this watch trailer, let's see, we're going to get our own trailer, right? There we go. See that? So it's working as we are expecting, but the styling, you want to bring it here at the middle here and then add some styling at the bottom. All right, so we are going to do that in the next video, right? I think the most important part of it is done. So next video, we are going to continue about the modal and add some styling or continue working on the sharing as compared to the final one. What you see here is the middle here and we have some social sharing. All right, so I'm going to do this one in the next video.